Yo, hello. Welcome to a podcast, driving little car podcast on this Mother's Day. Hey, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, right? Hey, happy Mother's Day, Portman, right? Happy Mother's Day, everyone. A lot of stuff going down like usual, I guess, in the news and all the stuff, right? But I'm just going to keep it domestic, and I'm going to keep to two topics, not divisive topics at all, but maybe applicable on Mother's Day. A little bit of a theme to it, at least, right? Now, of course, the first one is all this abortion stuff with the Roe v. Wade and the abortion like issue, and it is prudent to talk about it. Particularly, like, really, it wouldn't matter how you feel about it. You will find no topic that divides people and that certain people feel super strong about either way, to the point of like. But in a way, it's good to have the reckoning, because there are some of us who, for a long time, say, Roe v. Wade is not enough. You need to pass laws no matter what. And at some point, like, something about it. So at this point, however one feels about it, it's prudent to, A, understand what it, I guess, does and doesn't do, but B, like, what should happen, what has to happen, and how might the federal government be able to help, as well as just the states, right? Because it doesn't matter how I personally might think toward, I think people should have the right to choose and have that right protected. That's how I feel. And I'm even a bit liberal with, like, where a cutoff age should be. But I do think, with exception for, like, the life of the mother or, like, imminent extreme health risk to the mother, nope. There should be a cutoff, but it should be, that's my personal view on it, right? You'll find views everywhere in between. So when you start there in a country, right, because, like, there are slippery slopes on both sides to certain things, in a way, it's just very good to have a reckoning, actually, because you need to codify something into law. And I think people they look to their own corners and how to be, like, super they do that with everything. With this one, it's inherent no matter what. So rather than any of that, how could the federal government, the federal government used to sometimes, on occasion, be good, the legislative branch in particular, the Congress, right? The ones who pass the laws. Like, I know the law students these days want to say they are the law. Neither them nor Judge Dredd is the law. Actually, like, no, the lawmakers, sadly, like, they decide the laws, and then, like, the other ones, like, anyway, that's why it does matter who you vote for. And you can't be so, how should I put it? I could disagree with you about whatever your stance is on the abortion issue, but if it's some other matter that I'm happy to agree with you with that one. I'm all in support of that. But with this, I'm happy to disagree with you. I'll tell you to face. Look, I'll fight you. You fight me or whatever. Like, we can argue it out in the court of public opinion, or what we think about it, or how we're going to vote about certain things. But then there's minutia, and, like, everything's a little grayer than, like, the binary, like, left and right choice. But going back to compromise, I really do feel like, how would you make a federal law that somehow, like, even in theory, people from Mississippi and California alike could, enough of them, definitely, like, get behind? In other words, have a framework. How could you possibly do that? Well, you take a cue from some of these states like Florida and Mississippi, and by cue I mean CUE, not like, no, I don't want to get into it, but you take what they have done, right, and basically you create a framework, and you say, all right, abortion is now going to be the law, the hypothetical, like, bill that could be proposed for bipartisan, like, to decide upon, basically caps. It's legal on a federal level from right on up until 15 and a half weeks. All states have to have that. And then, because so many people would go nuts the second you try to do that, who are pro-life, and really they would, right? But so you can cap, in exchange for that, you can cap it after 28 weeks, 30 weeks, with exception for the exact thing I stated, that's it. No, we don't have, most countries, all but like 7 others and ours, after 20 weeks, they don't have it, right? So certainly 28 or 30 after that, you could compromise there to get them to compromise there. And then you leave it up to the states to vote as they see fit. Over time, they can check. Wait a minute, that's states' rights. That's democracy in action, yet it frames everything together, and it does not leave the voter out of the page, because you're their elected officials. You've been voted on, whether on the federal level or the state level or the local level, by the people of the states. So that's really what you should shoot for, because otherwise you're going to find, especially, like, I don't know, if I know anything about, like, scripted, like, instigator club, yeah, I mean, like, this issue really does matter to a lot of people in a lot of ways, and they don't agree at all, right? So you do have to, there really isn't a one-size-fits-all, nor should there be in this country with that, but you could put certain things, you could bracket it and say, well, here's the laws in our country with respect to abortion. And then from there, it's up to the states to decide and vote. And then I think you will find that certain people really, like, whether we think it's a necessary evil or really, like, we don't judge you and we don't care about it too much, like, look, I'm not going to get into how much, like, I'd have to do a Sunday school is cool to, like, explain all the ways that I think the pro-life, mostly, like, Christian church community, and I respect your opinion, beats up and, like, hates on anyone who's even, like dating someone pre-marriage, let alone, like, that happened, right? And is going to punish them for a tough decision, right? And is in no way willing to yield to someone who doesn't even subscribe to the faith, let alone, like, push them out and treat them the exact same you would, someone who, like, whatever, like, killed a child who was, like, 10 years old. And you say, because, and listen, I'm not trying to change your opinion, all right? You can feel free to try and change mine either way, but I'm liberal. And so it is important to me that people try to protect that right. But I think you will find that as long as you were willing to yield by instead of saying 20 weeks, yield down that 4.5 weeks, which seems to be the Mississippi, Florida, like, minimum right now, right? In exchange for, but that's always going to be legal, and we have a right to vote within the state to get it to, basically try to double it. And that's what you should do. Because the only way you can pass that law to legalize abortion on a federal level and get the votes is if you yield with the late term a bit, actually, because it is so important to some people, like, on that end of it versus the other, that I think you would find even if it doesn't matter, people have strong opinions on it, and I just know you're not gonna change them, but the court isn't really everybody has known that. I mean, in the 90s, like, people fought to pass laws because it's flimsy. Everybody, I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it, like, I know I've, like, seemed to notice it, like, from what I studied about it in the past. I mean, like, really, it's, you need law for that, because you do want to legally protect them, and I think you'll find that the divisiveness, especially towards the latter end, is where then the dogmatic people that way, get in the way of any. But I think if you're the federal government, you want to get ahead of, like, some kind of train wreck. What you don't want to do is end the filibuster. Don't. That's a trick. That's a bait and switch. Like, that kind of gets into, like, the other, like, what are you really trying to do here, just in general? to us like citizens. You do not want to do that, because first of all, no matter what, I do not foresee, like, even with this Hail Mary of a leak, right, the Democrats picking up very many seats. In fact, they'll probably lose some, right? And then you may find no filibuster, but these people, right? And you were the exact people who didn't, wait a minute. Trust me, we don't need that, because then any law you do pass in the legislature, I should say, is very easily just whoever's in charge, whatever they want, that's all there is. You don't want that. You don't want that, but in the same way, like, I would say, even if you're in a state where 2/3 of the people don't want abortion and 1/3 does, wait a minute, that puts you in the minority, but you should still have a right to have one to a certain point, I think. Even in those states, they shouldn't be able to pass a law that, that just outlaws it. I disagree with that. That's not fair. But I have no problem with if you want to cap it at 15 and a half weeks, you should have every right to do that. Actually, even if I think it should be like 20, and you could put it in, but doesn't matter. But you're saying they can have that and go to a state where, great. And you may find, like, you're paying for bus rides and things, like, whatever, Planned Parenthood or whatever. Like, if they want to do something useful, Planned Parenthood, they should really do like a 2.0, where they do, like, consider certain things. I don't know. That's a whole other can. But I sure understand both sides of, like, argument, but I also understand, like, no one's going to budge, particularly not, like, pro-life community. But a lot of pro-life people might see the value in, like, no, wait a minute, if there was a way to outlaw after 28 or 30 weeks, we would be happy to see it can be legal everywhere up to 15 and a half, and then from there we have a say, and that's a state thing. And then I think you will even find certain, like, people willing to yield who were not once willing to yield, when you realize as long as you're not, like, really, it's not going to affect too many people right away, like, the ruling in and of itself. Obama has cited that, like, you have to vote, and you have to vote for the laws that you want. And on a federal level, there's no way, they never want to get, the only way they'll ever do anything on abortion is to get that filibuster out of the way. Then maybe begrudgingly they'll pass a 50-50 with, like, Kamala as the tying vote, like, vote. That's not the way you want to pass laws in this country. Once, actually. By the way, like, the, like, way you overtly, like, whipped up and leaked, like, this person's a hero. You mean like the laptop guy who, like, gave Rudy the laptop, right? Like a hero like that, right? Because you like that guy, right? Wait a minute. That guy has life ruined, like, whatever. I mean, like, I'm just trying to say, like, people are crazy, and I'll speak to the other topic is just that. I mean, when you cannot understand that, like, some of the things they do with the internet, like the internet and the press and the media, because, like, the internet is kind of an amalgamation of all the other, like, forums out there, right? But then you have these companies like Facebook or Twitter or, like, TikTok, I guess, or any of these big, like, where the people actually are. And it just seems to me that how are you supposed to, like, if you try to get in any kind of, like, in what way, like, if you actually try to drill down or push back, how am I reading this wrong? I think what you're saying is inaccurate about it, but I'm happy to yield if, you let me know how, right? Nothing. That seems like a bigger picture strategy for, like, they just would rather, the way they get stuff done is leak a big divisive thing, have people bully and fight and yell and scream down and like crazy, right? Like a crazy reaction, right? And vice versa. They have counterparts on the right who are happy. I noticed somebody left like Nazi flags like on Disney or something. That's nice. You should look into that. You should get to the bottom of who did it. And you should actually try and get to the bottom of it, because I seem to notice there are like people who just go around and do that. And like, I don't refute that you're going to find like some like online version of like, you know, like one incarnation of the person that's really like totally Nazi. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. But like, you know, I noticed Trudeau like pointing out how there were like 3 people who showed up with Nazi flags out of all the truckers, and like, yet he cited it, all the truckers, as like, not, I mean, I think there's a little of that going on. And if you cannot get to the bottom of this divide and conquer, you see kids like Nazis ain't making it. Wait a minute. I think, you know, the chances of like who put that there or what, like, why can't we grow up? It just seems to me like, look at the damn, remember we tried to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer? It was all over the news, right? But then you slowly learn like how many FBI informants like cooked it up, and it got all over the news, and it wasn't quite like that. I just mean, like, what's up with like, why does like, are you sure it's not like some Fed planting like Nazi flag there, you know, to really like drum up the about it? No one would be doing any of that. I mean, even unofficially on the fly, right? Let alone any kind of like, you know, like I said, they sure don't know about like dark web stuff or any kind of like insincerity, right? Because like, if you can't be yourself in public or on the social media in public, but then there's like, you know, a whole new fight, you can do whatever you want, right? But like, well then of course they're gonna gravitate towards like, it's just a scheme. So I sort of notice like no one notices about like certain cell phone things. You know, some are more cool than others or whatever, right? And I say we should probably stop that, because it breeds a mind of like, people don't trust each other with anything. And then like, you take a look at it's crazy. I saw an article, it said like, the headline was, Elon Musk, like, big hypocrite, like, who, like, tried to censor people on social media himself in the past or whatever. So, wow. So I click on it, right? And the article has nothing to do with that. It's about other, like, public, like, issues that, like, with Tesla or this, or, like, this person's angry at him, right? And then there's a blurb that says, basically verbatim, the headline again, and reiterates, and it says, as cited in this Bloomberg article. Right? It's only proof. It just says the same thing it says like Elon Musk, like himself, like da-da-da-da, and as stated in this Bloomberg article. And the only thing the reporting actually does is provide a Bloomberg article, and yet they used it as the title when it's like the 10th paragraph. So then you click the Bloomberg article. I don't know how Bloomberg wouldn't like sue these people for like defamation or like misrepresenting their article completely. Because not only does it not say that, even Tesla, the organization, didn't actually do that in like the state in the country of China or anywhere else. Like there was a local story about like a local dealer who like a woman protested and he like chimed in, and then like it had nothing to do with Tesla, the company, saying the Chinese government censored bad press about Tesla, nor did it have anything to do with Elon Musk personally like saying to do that. In fact, the story was about how they kept getting hammered with bad press on social media on Tesla, and how it was like could be an issue for him moving forward, and like his relationship with the, like whatever it was. Nothing. I mean, it's complete bullshit. But it's like 3 layers of separation, and maybe if I phrase it this way, but I mean it's complete bullshit. Why do you go with that for the headline? Well, because most people when they swipe and they slide, you know, they're gonna. That's what I mean. Like, you have to have a little bit more, I don't know. You can't have disinformation, like, board. You're very concerned about it. And the exact people, you know by their fruits what their intention is. What are these people good at and what are they not? Right? Well, why are, like, 28, 29-year-olds, like, who never once in this country, never once cared about anything to do with politics, like suddenly like all they're concerned about is like how much like Trump is bad, this son's a schemer, right? I just, man, like, laptop story, fake, doop, right? I mean, like, anyway, yeah. Ban that particular, with the Department of Homeland Security. Oh. That's what I mean, right? So we're entitled to agree to disagree in this country, but if you give a damn about any of it, like, they really are just trying to whip everybody up into, and there's nothing better than that, than a convenient, like, wow, they're really going to rule this way, which people were worried about. But there are some of us who say, you shouldn't be, because this doesn't, like, you have to have laws, you have to vote, you have to insist not only for your state, but that in all the states it's protected up to a point, and you have to try and count on the federal government to do just that. But if they go too far in trying to trample, like, certain states that at the moment want it for the least amount as seems reasonable to them, like, whatever, but then, wait a minute, certain ones will say, no, hell no, we want to get rid of it, right? And I disagree fundamentally with it, especially for, like, first trimester, up to the 15 and a half weeks. Wait a minute. Even I'm trying to be, like, fair about it. I don't hate your opinion. And I just think that I certainly understand that, especially when it comes to the third trimester, it does involve more than one life, actually. So I think you'll find there are many people who would be thrilled if you, outside imminent, like, crisis for the mother, outlawed it after 28, 30. You could start at 30 and see if you can, weeks, right? If it meant that it was definitely always going to be legal. Because there are certain people who no, why should they have to do it? Well, I already know. Justice is both sides. They won't, so that's all the federal government can do. Other than that, it is a state's issue, but, like, again, if they could bookend it, if they could cap it, if they could bracket it with some kind of, like, here's the framework and the foundations in this country, and from there you pass your state laws, then I think it'd be fine. So that's what I think they could find. Like I said, you may find, like, willing players on both sides, but see, the thing about Congress, anyway, we really have to be, like, when you're not allowed, I mean, it's just so stupid what they're doing, but, like, I don't know, you won't want, it's like, they're the manipulators, no one else going, so wait a minute, stop that, all right, please, because there are certain things, and, like, the leg up community always, like, now we need, it matters what we do at this point in time, like, the way, like, the minds of the young, the minds of the old, the digital tech. Yes, you have one, like, Wild West type time with your, like, digital tech and your social media and your cell phones and your stuff, and then, like, whatever it is, and they're trying to use it to, I mean, like, it ultimately won't work, but it does seem to me that, like, I don't know, it shouldn't be that important to people on any side to disrespect or try to control what people think or how they are or what they feel or believe, to a point where, like, it just leads to a lot of, like, misunderstanding and hate and, like, sensationalizing this and that. When you're in charge of what populates and what trends and what doesn't, then, I mean, that is you. Every government, let alone, like, private business, would know, like, that can be weaponized very quick, and it can be used to, like, shun people very quick, and it is arbitrary all too often, and everybody knows that, and yet, like, certain things, it just seems stupid to me, and, like, we need to respect each other in the exact same way, we're just, you have to stop and use empathy and consider, particularly the mind of a child, all right? I mean, listen, half the preschoolers, it might as well be a stork. They don't know. Wait a minute. We don't need, like, there are certain things that I just mean, like, if you don't watch it all, right? Because it's not just, like, hyper, like, wanting to talk about this and that. I mean, it is a bigger picture, like, we're driving a wedge and, like, culture shock, all the, like, the usual, right? And if you know anything about, Hugo Chavez, or whatever his name was, right? The Venezuela guy, or the guy who took over after him, right? And how that country went from democratic to, like, take a look, do your own research, actually. I think you'll find some of those talking points that creep in all too often to what, like, trends the best on Twitter or whatever. Like, there's something, you know, wait a minute, you don't want to get rid of that filibuster action, all right? But you do want to pass laws to protect pro-choice for every state, while not chiming in, no, it has to be no clause, no exceptions, right on up until 9 months, If you do that, you will fail, all right? But I wish everybody luck in coming to terms with the fact that just consider, I mean, like, in the end, it's not really up to the courts. They're not wrong about that. And everybody knows that. So, again, like, you relied for 50 years, you didn't pass one law on a federal level, right? And so, you know, are you going to absolutely leave it up to the states? Well, you could, or you could say, zoop, nope, we're going to cap it, right? You have the right up to here, and you don't have the right after here. And here is, like, make it simple and try to find a coalition of, like, willing, bipartisan, pass the damn law in the House and the Senate, and don't overthink it. All right? That would be my suggestion. Have a very good day, everyone. Happy Mother's Day, all right? Bye.